when we were talking about the plan of what's going to happen today on this piece of property, we started to talk a little bit about inflation. So I'm going to show you what's going on here, building out this terrace for the container barn. And again, the container barn is about storage first and then a barn system in place. But while we're looking at this work being done, I want to share a little bit about our conversation here earlier. I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. If you have the opportunity to do this, do it now. And what I mean by this, I mean to build your small farm or your homestead. So Scott and I were talking about inflation. The cost of building something like this, there is a cost associated with it. There is time, there's effort, there's an investment if you're getting the right people out here to do the work. But ultimately, if you wait to build this, it is only going to get more expensive. Inflation in the United States, inflation around the world is in such a position that commodity goods are going to increase in value much faster. Now, the commodity goods don't actually increase in value. They're worth the same because they have a certain utility value. But the price you'll pay at the marketplace is going to get much higher because of supply chain issues and because of challenges that have to go with the availability of these items. And when there's a limited supply, prices automatically go up. So the investment we're making, I'm putting a solid gravel pad in here to drop 2 containers, which container prices are about $4,000 or $5,000 a piece. Those containers are going to be on the land with high utility value now, rather than more expensive in the future with no utility value from time A, which is now, to the time in the future. Now, what does that mean? That means if you have a small farm or even a piece of property, having a garden in place, growing food in the ground today has more value than growing food in the ground in the future. Now, we're setting aside rocks, and we're really started talking about how does a person who has limited resources get started quickly on their own land, and it actually starts with survival. Now, you might be saying, well, Justin, I'm not going to go move out on a piece of land and live in a tent. That's what homeless people do. Well, is it really homelessness if you're camping with your family out on a piece of land, getting familiar with the land, enjoying the land, and gaining the skills necessary to go through the hardship of a large land project like we're talking about right now? Now, even small land projects can be made easier when you understand how to maintain shelter, how to keep yourself warm, even just how to have a nice little cookout and enjoy some fresh food while you're out here working on a project. So that's your survival essentials. Then what's the next step? How do you go from there to the next step, which is starting to build permanent shelters, or at least more stable shelters? And that is your natural building. Now, we were talking about this because the trees out here, they only get bigger. So inflation is the cost increasing at the marketplace. So the timber at Lowe's continues to increase in price, where the trees on your land continue to increase in size. Okay, this makes sense in the fact that the tree is a natural resource that will sustain itself living in your land until you need it to build a house. So what skills do you need to build a house? Again, the natural building skills is how to turn that tree into shelter. Now, there's different kinds of buildings. There's straw bale houses, there's wattle and daub. There's a lot of things that you're learning about here on the YouTube channel, but you could really easily start experiencing them out in the woods itself. So again, you're going to build on that survival essentials and understand how to make a basic shelter. You can turn these materials and leaves into a basic shelter. Then we go one step further, almost like Ages of Empires, where you're starting to gather additional resources, additional skills, and build more complex shelters. Now, the great thing about an earthwork shelter or a natural building shelter is that you can really make a lot of mistakes, and it doesn't really cost you anything, because again, you're using trees off the land, you're using resources that are readily available, adding knowledge. So even before you build a permanent home, which a lot of people are concerned about building the permanent home because of its costs, you could have a really good hunting cabin, you could have a really good shelter set up, even if it's just a wall tent, practicing the lessons and principles that you have here. The biggest problem with YouTube and the videos is that you can watch these videos all day long. It doesn't mean that you're going to be able to do the things that you're seeing. You may feel that you have a high level of confidence, but without the practical experience, you really don't have much to go on. So yeah, it's exciting to see all these rocks and to see all this stuff happen and the terraces being formed out. But this is my dream that I'm living here. How do we help you live your dream? How do we help you develop the skills that are necessary in order to feel confident on the land? That's survival essentials. And then the natural building is how to build shelters and how to build more complex structures. Now, Scott's an artistic kind of guy. He's a farmer. He's running a lot of things, kind of a Renaissance man in many ways. And when he's teaching this course or bringing in instructors to teach these courses, it really is about practical implementation. I'll include a link in the description below, but let me get back to our original discussion. Our original discussion was about the inflation, about how the costs of goods are going higher. So if you can't afford to build a house today on your land, or you can't afford to buy land today, it isn't going to get cheaper. So he was looking at a piece of property, 1.5 acres. He buys property that's near his farm as it becomes available, and this 1.5 acres was going for $12,000. Now, the reason it was going for $12,000 is unclear, because it doesn't have water, it doesn't have power, it doesn't have anything except raw land, and then the grade of the land is quite difficult. So you can see that in the marketplace, many folks have unrealistic expectations. And these unrealistic expectations are going to impact your ability to purchase, as well as those expectations are just going to get worse when people are hard up and they need the money. If you're paying attention to what we're doing on the screen here, what he's doing is he's building out that terrace, compacting the material in place, and as you can see, the ground is a little bit moist, but it's not wet. So it is definitely safe to do what he's doing. But again, you don't want to go too early, and I understand that that's the hesitation for a lot of people. And so if you build your house too early, you're going to tie up capital in a building and may not have materials or the capital necessary to develop the farm. That's where I come in with the plan. What is your plan to build your small farm, homestead, or estate? Now, for a lot of folks, it's starting in the land that you already have. Okay, so it's great to dream about being out on a piece of land, but what is it that you could do on your own land or in the places you're living today? Now, I know a lot of you folks, from looking at the demographics, are living in cities. What can you do with a cooperative? What can you do with a local or regional farmer in order to start gaining the skills that are necessary? We don't want you sitting around watching YouTube videos all day. I know it's easy, it feels like you're doing something, but the videos online are not showing you the whole picture. So for example, the market garden terrace that we built, there are no other videos at the time of publication about how to build a terrace or that kind of infrastructure. Now, we built a whole course around it because it's something that's useful for farms to help you get more from your land. However, it's not something you typically see on YouTube videos. There are foreign videos, there are what I'm saying is non-English videos. There are videos that show how to do that type of thing the wrong way. But ultimately, if you want to get results, we showed you how to do it. Now, how do you make that new insight into a practical skill that you can use in the marketplace? Now, why is that important? Well, the skills you have an unlimited or infinite value in the marketplace when others don't have those skills. So your ability to be comfortable on the land, your ability to build housing and shelter on the land, even if it's just shelter for your animals, and your ability to understand key skills that make bad land or unusable land more valuable are like gold. See, you can't eat gold, but you can eat from your garden. You can't live in a golden house, but you can live in an earthen shelter or a natural building shelter. And by the way, these shelters are not like a dirt hut. These shelters are very, very nice. In fact, I'm looking at building a few natural shelters here at this property, and will be attending courses on that myself. But here's the point. The dollars you have in the bank today are losing purchasing power exponentially. Now, it's easy to get more dollars, especially when the dollars don't buy anything. That's why Zimbabwe had $20 trillion bills. That's why there's such frustrations in economies that are collapsing even today. Sri Lanka, for example. The money just became worth nothing. And they had organic food, but they had such small supply of it, so it increased the food price even more. Imagine if you had the skills. Imagine if you understood through practical implementation the things that we're talking about in these podcasts and the things that we're talking about in these videos, so that you could actually do this stuff in real life. Now, I know a lot of you folks think you can do it because you watched the video. I've been in that case as well, but not until I got out here and implemented this work. Now, there are other projects to get done on this farm as well as other farms that are being developed in our region. It's highly likely that there are projects in your region as well. The key is gaining the core understanding, because farmers won't let you just come out and use this equipment or let you come out and be on these sites if you don't know what you're doing. But there's opportunities to even start small scale in your own backyard, or to attend a course where somebody can train you on these materials. Now, there are courses available in Australia, in the United States, earthworks courses everywhere. I'm keeping track of these, and if you contact me through the website at www.prosperityhomestead.org, I'll put you in touch with people in your region that can help you with an earthworks course. Why is the earthworks so important? Again, you can just live out in the woods. I could set up a tent in one of these clearings and be quite comfortable for a weekend. But if I'm going to live someplace for a month or even a lifetime, I'm going to want to have a decent foundation, proper water drainage, and a building of some sort. Now, the natural buildings, some of those have been around for hundreds of years, and so that is a viable solution. However, the design and understanding that implementation comes faster when you are able to attend a course and you're able to work on those skills in a real life environment. Another factor that we have to understand, just like inflation, is that skills that you don't have cost you the most. Next are the skills that you have in the future but don't have when you need them now. And then finally, the most profitable skills are the ones that you have today and you can implement today. And again, that's how you get that through training programs. You get that through practical experience. So I can show you how to do these things on paper, and that's a good place to start. But when you come out to a class, we're in Ridgeway, Virginia. When you come out to a class and attend either a survival essentials course, you can learn about basic shelters. You can learn about the key necessities that every piece of property has or needs to have, as well as gaining some skills that make camping on your property more comfortable. Or you can come out to a homesteading skills class that's going to focus more on natural building. So you can go from clearing in the woods to a nice shelter or cottage. And if you're beyond that and you're going to develop an entire property, we can sit down with you and look at the maps and the plots and help you develop a larger, more sustainable homestead solution. I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. In the excavator is Scott Vernon of the Sustainable Homestead Institute. And we want to make sure you have these skills, because as the economy has continued challenges, these skills are going to be worth more and more. But if you don't have a stable foundation, if you don't have the implementation of these skills today, then you will be left behind. Sure, these skills are useful and these skills are practical, but they have little value to someone who doesn't know how to implement them. So understanding what you're seeing here is fun. Seeing the opportunity, seeing the potential is fun. But ultimately, contact us and we'll get you in touch with somebody in your region, a permaculture design professional. We'll get you in touch with a natural building course. We'll get you in touch with the people that you need in your region. You don't necessarily have to travel across the world, but in your region, so you can start applying these skills and building up your proficiency. There's a reason why the apprenticeship system has worked for so many thousands of years, and it's because it helps you gain practical knowledge and implementation from people who have actually done these things. I know you see this on a small scale online. I know you've seen it on a tremendously large scale online, but let's talk about the practical and appropriate scale for you by having you either attend a course or work with a qualified professional. Now again, while this does sound like a pitch, I wanted to make sure you understood that people are talking about inflation. You're not alone in seeing how much prices are increasing. And you're not alone with that pressure to do something now rather than doing it later. There is hope, but the hope comes with action, specific actions. Again, if you have any questions about what I'm covering here, or you have comments, leave them in the comments below. You can also contact us at www.prosperityhomestead.org. And we got a lot of free resources. We've got a lot of answers to help you get started right now. I want to thank you for watching. I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. I'll look forward to hearing from you soon.